I am Jeffrey Rocoa. This is my potter's journal for the week after St. Patrick's Day. Last week's video, I made some donut jugs, ring vases. This is just one part of it. They have been sitting covered for an entire week. Why? I've been shaking in my boots. Why did I take this on? The test of a potter often can be a teapot, and people look at it and examine how you did everything from whether you can do a handle to whether your spout comes straight out so that the water doesn't stay in the pot or comes up at the right angle. Well, this is a test too. Not only a ring vase, but a tulipiere, a Dutch tulip pot. We made the last video the ring vase, 5 spouts, and a pedestal. So now can I put it all together? Let's see what's going on in the studio today. And now these are the cast of characters, the spouts, the bases or pedestals, and the ring jugs. And we're hoping for something like this. Now before we start, let me show you something else real quick too. And I can't show you everything I'm doing. Here is something else making its way into the bisque. So the first starting point might be to put this on the pedestal. But then when we do all this work up here, it's going to start wobbling back and forth. It's going to weaken the alignment of clay particles in here. So this is the last thing we are going to do. Now, this has been covered for a week here. I've had no idea how to approach this or even thought about it. But it's a matter of just coming into it and taking it one step at a time. So I've got 2 big pieces of clay to wedge around this the same kind of way you would put little lumps of clay on the wheel to hold something in place while you're trimming it. I think I'm going to put the fatter ones on the small one, and I decided that I would put the lowest one in the middle and the taller ones out here, so that would bring them all up to a little better level and a matter of filling with water too. Now, normally I am not a tool person, as I said, but when I have one, I'm going to use it. And whatever you do, you can do this with a fettling knife too. Don't drop anything inside, because it'll rattle around in there. And let's see what this out. And if you saw me making these, you'll remember the spout is made on a lifting pad, so we could lift it off the potter's wheel, and that kept the bat or board from drying it out too fast down at the base. So that is it. Take a fettling knife and round this off to the shape of the vase. So it just fits right on there. Make sure from all angles. And seems to match up nicely inside. Here's where we will start to pull this out to meet that on the inside to help. So when we push that down, we're bringing this up a little bit so that when we push this down, it settles into itself, as opposed to pushing down into the jug and collapsing it. So we're working very wet. We practically don't even need slip or to score. Well, yes we do, but not much. More out of habit almost than necessity. And back on again. And so now it's raised up, and we will push it down on to make a firm contact. And again, lining up. Alright, and to think, well, this is only one, to think I had put this off for a week. Now, here's something about it being covered. I'm just connecting this. Being covered for a week, a lot of people would bring out a hair dryer or a blowtorch and dry things out so that you connect them faster. Well, that's going to dry out the outer surface. It's going to dry out the outer surface of the pot and not the inside. So then you might have the chance of it collapsing. So by allowing this to dry out slowly, it dried out throughout the body of the pot. Okay, now we've marked where the hole should be. Now, interesting enough, I have noticed that they seem to come off at an angle. I would think we would want to cut them off at an angle so they all come straight up, but that's not the way I've seen them. Okay, so we need to do this one first because it's shorter, and then cut this one to match. Okay, so opening, bit of slip, and attach again. I think this could have been a little bit higher. Let's see where the opening is. And yeah, and we can give this a little adjustment up. So if you don't know exactly how to do it, it's just a matter of taking it one step at a time and thinking that as you go. Okay, this one I need to cut off a little more because this was a little bit taller spout. Okay. So, and why? Yeah. A single 3 openings, enough to hold one flower bud. Why? Because of tulipomania, tulip madness, when tulips were, if not practically the currency, worth more than gold. So you'll see today a valuable antique, or let's compare a Hummel. Now that we know that everybody's aunt and grandmother had them, and that they can be sold on eBay, and everybody found out they're of no value because everybody has them, what was once thought of value, and yet some registered cartoon in the most recent movie character is getting huge amounts. Huge amounts in the year the picture's released, and then a year later, worth nothing. Hand building. This is hand building. So last video we did the throwing, and this is hand building. If you're an experienced hand builder, you can maybe take a cake mold, line it with a cloth, and make 2 halves and put them together. And the tulipiere, or tulipiere, how do you say that? The Dutch tulip pot does not have to be a ring jug either. It can be any shape and any. Oh, check in and see Cozy Ceramic Sheilas. Both a couple of them that she made, and her visits to museums and some shops. Okay, now, I think these two, it's going to be more complicated getting to look right, but these are pretty much the exact same height and size. I want this one to face up a little bit, so not only am I going to cut the roundness of the pot, but I'm going to cut one side a little bit lower so we give it a little more of a slant upwards. Can I do that? You know, first I'm going to give it the cut to fit the pot, and then the cut to slant it upwards a bit. Never. You know, I have seen a couple of these in a book, or at least one, now maybe a couple, or drawings in books of Pennsylvania redware, old Pennsylvania redware, and probably because it was brought here, okay, by the Dutch. There's a population known as Pennsylvania Dutch. This is all more in eastern part of the states. But you have seen me at a historic village here where I live, Old Economy Village. And that was German as well. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, I like the way this one fits. But this one needs, I think, a bit more of the angle. And the test of a potter is if he can make a teapot. And I always see teapot spouts coming straight out, meaning you fill it up to the wear and the water is just spilling out. So I'm not sure how functional this is. This one, okay, oh, wait a minute. No, here is the lip of the pot, meaning we can fill this with water all the way up to here. Oh, okay. So I was worried. I thought maybe I wouldn't pass my test, what I always look at. So compared to a few of the old ones I've seen in the books of old pots, this might be a little too refined. I'm not sure if I've seen this in books of Moravian pottery, but I'm positive I'm going to look for the book before we finish this project. This is going to take several weeks yet. Also several weeks till we get to that number, 500. And hopefully I'll have something to pull out of the kiln for the 500th video pot. Or I should say pots. Alright. I'm now just going to smooth this out, make sure that I got all those insides. It's very tight. I might have to go in there with a stick and go over a sponge with this. Then we'll see about getting this on the base. I don't know, the decorating we might save for the next video. I have several other shapes and forms we're going to do this in. Let's just see what they look like with some flowers. We'll substitute narcissus for the tulips. And they show each blossom off individually. Now my plan, just like, yeah, we held it between those wedges of clay, is just to pull both sides of this up against it. Just to pull both sides up against it. First, to make sure, okay, we've got them with the middle one coming up straight through the middle. Okay. And then how do we do this? Push in both sides. Now, At this point, I'm just pushing in both sides, but when I get a chance, I'm going to go underneath and put a coil around the inside. So, should we have slipped and scored that? Should we put a coil on the outside too? Okay, let's hope this doesn't fall over. It's not really held in yet. We'll put a little line there. And we will do a bit. This is where you don't do this with a needle or with a fettling knife, a fork, because it'll make 4 lines in a clay at a time. When I was doing sculpture that was 5 foot tall, I learned that. So a fork will be a lot quicker and better. But we're only making one piece here. And by the time I get a fork from my box of tools, we will have this finished. And a slip. And this is wet, the clay, so we're attaching wet to wet. A lot of people attach dry to dry. Yeah, that's not the way I do it. Get this so the center's coming up the center again. This base is very big. This is a very big base. Compared to others I've seen, even the Turkish ring pitcher type jug, they have such a small, huge ring, small proportion to the base, and even this, I like the larger portion to the base because this is something that could be toppled over either easily. So we were giving it some extra security. That I think all my proportions are different than I've seen others. That the spouts I've seen generally are smaller, the ring base slenderer, and the pedestal much smaller as well. But somehow I think the proportions are different, but they work. It's going to be a small one. We're going to have a coil on the inside too. Just a very small coil. And it's becoming smaller as I push it into the connecting groove, push it into the base of the ring jug, push it into the top of the pedestal. And then drawing this out slowly, long and slow also. And then the sponge, slightly damp, helping to drive the same consistency of wetness, okay, into the 3 elements here. Alright, maybe we're ready to cut this off the base. Oh, how about that? How about that? Oh, what a relief! Okay, nothing to it. Anybody could do it. Okay, not difficult at all. I will say thank you, Sheila, for the challenge. I know you wanted to see me do angels, and I don't know what other cute little thing. But that just wasn't for me. I needed a new challenge because I'd been doing production wear and developing a line slowly, something to push the limits. Okay, this is all working up to my 500th video, series of bases. Let's take this a little bit further. Maybe I'll show you the decorating. We will see kiln results. Stop back and see what's going on in the studio. I feel more confident about it now. Next week.